With new details on allegations involving WWE and Vince McMahon, this is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Demanding thanks for keeping CM Punk relevant, Drew McIntyre said on WWE's The Bump. Too harsh? I think Punk and everybody should be thanking me. All his fans should be thanking me because I'm the one keeping him relevant right now by constantly talking about him. Not only that, I've dedicated my win at WrestleMania, the world title match, to Punk, so if anything, I'm the good guy here. I don't see the issue. Should be thanking me. Send the gifts, Punk. Bringing up his reason for coming out of retirement to have one last death match in pro wrestling, Mick Foley said this on his YouTube channel. One day when I was really struggling, I realized that what used to be the best motivation for me was another match. So I always got in shape with the goal of having another. Now fast forward, my wrestling days are over. I spent with two small occasions all of that time since 1999, well over 300 pounds, and I got down on three different occasions below 300, and then as I saw that my weight really starting to get away from me, I just thought maybe I need that motivation, and along the way I can appreciate the lifestyle changes, the eating differences, the exercise. There's no reason for somebody at my age and weight to not be exercising for 3 straight years. You know, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing when you're asked in an airport if you need a wheelchair. It's embarrassing to be the guy who's bigger than the chair on the airline. I think it's something of a paradox that by competing in a death match, I will have a much better life. Like, that day is going to be tough, it's going to be tough, but the lessons I learned leading up to that match are lessons I intend to carry forward for the rest of my life. To me, it's the difference between being a grandfather someday who can crawl on the ground and play with their grandchildren and a grandfather who sits and watches from the sidelines, and I don't want to be that guy sitting on the sidelines. So I know having a wild match involving barbed wire, thumbtacks, we're going to bring it, but these are going to be tools of life for that. Revealing AEW President Tony Khan's efforts to prolong his career, Sting said this prior to his retirement bout at Revolution, telling PWI's Colette Arand, "It's funny because I was the guy who did not want to get into pro wrestling. I didn't even know what pro wrestling was when I got started, but I ended up being a pro wrestler, and at the beginning I was an introvert, the last guy that you'd want to get up there and entertain in front of hordes of people. But it blossomed into what it blossomed into. I've had a lot of fun. I've enjoyed the fans and cannot thank them enough. After all of these years, having walked through the curtain thousands of times, I'm still a nervous wreck when I go out there. And it gets pretty overwhelming to try to perform at a high level at my age, even in a short match, even if it's a 6 or 8 man tag. Tony Khan was actually trying to get me to stay longer, maybe retire at Wembley, but it gets tougher and tougher every time you go out there, and you have all of these young guys who are ready to play. There's only so far you can push it. It's kind of sad, of course, but at some point you have to do it. There's a part of me that's sad, but there's another part of me that's relieved. It's bittersweet, but I'm looking forward to it." With it said that a pro wrestler, DAMIAN 666, has been hospitalized after a heart attack, Masked Republic wrote on X that our hearts and thoughts are with the legendary DAMIAN 666 and his family. We are hoping for successful surgery and a speedy recovery. 4 new details on the late former WWE star Ashley Massaro's accusations against WWE. Ringside News wrote that following Ashley Massaro's death in 2019, an affidavit penned by Massaro revealed her Middle East trip for a WWE mission to support troops. She disclosed being drugged and sexually assaulted by a U.S. military member during the trip. Massaro later asserted that Vince McMahon instructed her to remain silent about the incident to protect WWE's relationship relationship with the military. In 2019, as the story gained attention following Ashley Massaro's tragic passing, WWE issued a response. While expressing sadness about her death, the company clarified that Vince McMahon and WWE management were never informed of the alleged incident described in Massaro's affidavit. According to Post Wrestling, the Air Force Office of Special Investigations initiated an investigation on May 24, 2019, with NCIS taking over on June 28th. Despite conducting multiple interviews, they were unable to locate the reported crime scene. Exhausting all leads, the case was officially closed on January 27, 2020. Revelations from the investigation report, reviewed by Post Wrestling, include a statement from K&L Gates, Jerry McDevitt's law firm representing WWE. On August 26, 2019, the firm revealed that Ashley Massaro insisted on participating in a photo shoot after the alleged assault. The photos, dated July 3, 2006, surfaced, suggesting the shoot occurred the day after the reported incident. Redacted advised that subsequent to the release of Massaro's affidavit, he researched the allegation and found a blog posted online by WWE wrestler and USO participant titled Redacted, detailing the events of 03 July 2006, which is the date of the alleged rape of Massaro. Enclosure A pertains. Redacted noted that Redacted mentions Massaro insisted on attending a photo shoot with troops after her release from the medical clinic, which is inconsistent with the narrative in her affidavit, wherein she reports being taken to her hotel room where she went to sleep and remained until it was time for the tour to move to the next destination on the tour schedule. Redacted stated he was able to obtain photographs of the photograph session mentioned in Redacted's blog, which included Massaro. Redacted provided RA with 10 photographs he stated were from the event, as well as a photo array of the 10 photographs with file names that indicate they were taken on the 3rd of July 2006, enclosure B pertains. Confusion surrounded the alleged assault's location, initially thought to be at Ali Al Salam Air Base. However, Ashley Massaro's medical records revealed she received treatment at Camp Patriot Aerial Port of Demarcation Troop Medical Clinic, located 90 minutes away from the base. This discrepancy added complexity to the investigation. On the 16th of July in 2019, RA contacted who was confident the LSA captioned in this investigation was not located at Ali A1 Salem. AFOSI agents conducted their own research and were able to retrieve medical records, noted the acronym for the location of services on the medical record was CPAPODTMC. Deduced that to be Camp Patriot Aerial Port of Demarcation Troop Medical Clinic. Camp Patriot is a separate location approximately a 1.5 hour drive to the south on the east coast of Kuwait. He stated the medical facility also could possibly be located in Kuwait City. Several interviews conducted during the investigation yielded little substantive information, with individuals often lacking memory of the WWE tour or Ashley Massaro's allegations. Notably, a physician assistant interviewed on June 25, 2019, provided a clear recollection of treating Massaro. He recalled being called in on a Sunday to address her complaints of abdominal and pelvic pain at Camp Patriot, accompanied by a male civilian acting strangely. During the examination, Massaro appeared drowsy but lucid during questioning. The assistant mentioned a questionable practice of conducting a pelvic exam, despite concerns about Massaro's state. There was confirmation of banging on the door during the exam, as mentioned in Massaro's affidavit, with conflicting details about the response to the interruption. Massaro reportedly seemed nonchalant, stating everything was fine, and the manager stopped knocking without further inquiry. Redacted stated that during the exam with the female corpsman in the room, Redacted banged on the door and was calling Massaro's name and asking her if everything was okay. Redacted stated he had to stop the exam briefly so that Massaro could respond. Redacted stated that Massaro responded and said that everything was fine and she was having an exam done. Redacted stated that Massaro seemed nonchalant when she said everything was fine and the manager stopped banging on the door and did not knock again. In the interview, the physician assistant clarified that he didn't administer any drugs or medication to Ashley MASSARO and observed no signs of distress during the examination, discounting indications of a sexual assault. Efforts were made by the NCIS to interview the officer in charge of the clinic where MASSARO was treated, who initially resisted an interview without a subpoena. Although he was not considered a suspect, a list of questions was eventually submitted. However, the officer in charge declined to provide further information 5 days later, offering no response to the questions. Despite the investigation closing on January 27, 2020, the findings were only made public this past Friday. John Laurinaitis also denied covering up Ashley MASSARO's sexual assault allegations, evidently revealing that WWE higher-ups were aware of the incident. We'll have to wait and see whether justice will prevail in this case. With Maxine Dupree recently on the receiving end of boos from fans, let's talk about that in today's Wrestling Ramble. You've probably heard the news, you've heard of this story, I'd imagine. Maxine Dupree was recently at a WWE live event, and she was on the receiving end of boos, a little bit when she came out and more so when she left following her match. And there was comments made by one fan in particular where I think is really the crux of the issue people have with this recording. There's a fan cam showing Maxine walking away, and you can hear one guy in particular talking to Maxine saying, "You suck, Maxine, don't come back." And before that, he said, "You suck," which, to be fair, "you suck" is a pretty common thing you hear in pro wrestling. Even some baby faces are told "you suck" when they come to the ring. We live in a day and age where a lot of people know pro wrestling is a work. So you'll have people just pick their favorites, cheer on the cool heel, and boo the lame baby face. So someone coming down to the ring as a baby face or leaving the ring as a baby face and hearing "you suck," is that really something to get riled up about? I don't think so. And then hearing "don't come back," all of that, who cares? Let that run off of you. But this blew up, turned into a big storm, and we had Rhea Ripley come out on X. She wrote, "I really wish that some of you got booed and ridiculed in the public eye while being new at your job. Learning and getting better is all a part of being human. Be better as humans." Britt Baker replied with the 100 emoji. I'm left to presume that means she agrees with it. I'm going to give you 100 on your post. That's a perfect score, right? Aside from me not understanding entirely how the 100 emoji works in the context of texting and posting on social media, what Rhea Ripley said here is nice in one sense because she is coming to the aid of a fellow woman on the roster who she knows is green, new to the business, having maybe a hard time picking it up, maybe botches here and there, and she's saying, "Hey guys, lay off a little bit. What if you were in her shoes?" On the flip side of that, this is pro wrestling, and people that show up for these events, they paid for a ticket, and you have the right to boo or cheer for whomever you please. Now, here's where I have an issue with what Ripley said, and this is not to tear into her, this is just to look at it. But Ripley saying, "I wish you would get booed and ridiculed in the public eye while being new at your job." If I'm working a desk job or working from my home, I can have people come up to me and say, "Hey, you're not doing a good job. You're on the verge of getting fired. You're not putting in enough hours. You're not putting in enough effort." The idea that you're going to have an office job, let's say, and you need to do that in front of a crowd and have everyone boo you. Well, guess what? We're not on national television. We are not in the biggest professional wrestling company on the second largest stage audience-wise for a television in pro wrestling for Monday Night Raw every week performing. That's not us. We are not there. Maxine Dupree is. Now, because she is in that spot, does that mean she's deserving? That's up for debate. But because she's in that spot, does it mean it's her fault? Not necessarily. It's the fault of the people that put her in there that thought, "You are good enough to go out and wrestle every week. We are going to expose you. You're not good enough, and we're going to have you wrestle every week." There's something to be said about getting your reps in, wrestling the live events, the dark matches, whatever have you, but she's on television. She's seen by these people, and even at live events, she's going to be seen by those in attendance, thousands of people in front of her. And then you're going to be seen by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, depending on if the clip goes viral, for people watching it online, like with this clip. So the idea that people working regular jobs should get booed, that's ridiculous. I understand having sympathy and feeling bad for her for being booed, but when you look at when she made her debut, her in-ring debut in pro wrestling, she made her debut in March of 2022. She has not been wrestling that long. It's been 2 years. Not even 2 years by the time I'm recording this. It's March 3rd right now. It has not even been 2 years. If we're being honest here, Maxine Dupree should be on NXT, but moving on, Zelina Vega would also drop her support. There was this woman, Stephanie Hypes. I don't know who she is. She's someone related to pro wrestling, or at least covers it. She said, if you're booing a wrestler on the other side of the fence for trying to do some hard you've never done, you can F all the way off. Okay, so if you buy a ticket, you should just not boo. Or have you been a pro wrestler? Okay, shut up. It's stupid. What a horrible take. Speaking of horrible, Zelina Vega said, this is absolutely horrible. She doesn't deserve that. She's such a kind soul and works really hard. I would love if the bad parts of the biz don't harden her heart. They probably just mad because they can't drink your bathwater, Maxine. No, the people that are cheering her on, despite her botches and shortcomings and her abysmal performances in the ring, those are the people that want to drink Maxine's bathwater, Zelina. The people booing are looking at this and going, more than likely I'm presuming here, the people that are booing Maxine are going, you are not good. I am booing you because you are bad. I don't like what you're doing in the ring. I don't think you're good in the ring. Therefore, I am going to boo. I bought a ticket. I am going to boo. This really should not be a big issue, but you've shined a light on this by not only having this clip go viral, but having other women, very prominent women such as Rhea Ripley and Zelina Vega in WWE respond to this and come out in support of Maxine and get on to the fans for booing someone because they don't like her work in the ring. It's the most absurd thing I've seen. Thankfully, we had a bit of sanity, but this WWE wrestler, I don't blame them necessarily, because then they're going to have talks with all these women, I guess. Who knows if this is a man or a woman, but Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter reported that an anonymous WWE wrestler said this. They, the wrestler, noted the video shined a light on her being put on shows without the experience one expects for WWE house show performers. Aside from battle royals, she has had only 10 matches in her entire career. But the star noted fans should have the right to cheer and boo who they want to cheer and boo, and chant as long as you don't cross a line into being tasteless. And what that guy said, that one guy that everyone's bent out of shape about, didn't say anything that crossed the line. You suck, don't come back. That's not crossing the line. He didn't threaten her. He didn't jump the barricade. He didn't say anything tasteless. He's being a pro wrestling fan. And for those that boo, so what? And if that's true, when I read this the first time I read this, and I heard 10 matches, good grief. 10 matches and you're wrestling on Raw? That's insane. You made your debut in March of 2022. You've had 10 matches in your entire career. Maybe that's hyperbole. I don't know. But if that's the case, that's incredible. She's on Raw, and the company, Maxine, everyone that is involved in pro wrestling or watches pro wrestling should have an inkling to expect that she would be booed for her lack of wrestling prowess in her performances, shall we say. So what do you do with Maxine? Well, you could keep her on Raw, have her as a mouthpiece, have her work dark matches, have her only work live events, just keep her out of the ring on national television so you don't embarrass her in moments that live on forever. Of course, like I said, with live events, someone could record it, but at least it's not on national television where it's on everyone's DVRs and it's in live and living color and HD. You know what I mean there. I guess all the cameras these days are HD, right? But in all reality here, does anyone disagree that Maxine Dupree should be on NXT? If she's going to be anywhere, it should be NXT. It should be the Performance Center. Somewhere between the Performance Center and NXT is where Maxine Dupree should be. No one should be mad or upset about Maxine being booed. Not to say it's justified. Oh, you need to boo her. She's bad. It's your choice. But if you're a bad wrestler, if you botch moves, if you don't look smooth in the ring, because you got all these smart fans now, expect to be booed. Take it on the chin. You're learning. And that's how everyone should treat it. I appreciate Rhea Ripley and Zelina Vega, Britt Baker, all these other women coming to Maxine's aid. Don't get me wrong, there is nothing that is not okay about coming to the aid of a woman and supporting her when it comes to her being new. If you wanted to just leave it at that, that's fine. But to then implicate fans and try to say, what if you were in her shoes? Or that Stephanie Hines, whoever, which I won't look too much into her comments because who is she? But to say, you've never been a pro wrestler, you shouldn't be able to boo. That's stupid. But like I said, Maxine Dupree should be at the Performance Center at most on NXT television. She shouldn't be on Raw. I don't think that's a controversial take. That's not a hateful take. That's acknowledging that she is limited, has only had a handful or two handfuls of matches as per this source right here, who's a WWE wrestler that submitted this anonymously to Dave. But those are my 2 cents on this. I thought I would make a video on it just to go over everything because I think it's such an interesting topic and I don't see how people are getting so bent out of shape over the words of seemingly one man. But if you're talking about everyone booing, that shouldn't be an issue. This man didn't say anything threatening and the people booing have the right to boo. And if they're only booing because she's not that good in the ring, that's the least of your worries. Come on. But that's all I've got on this issue. What do you guys think about it? How do you feel about Maxine Dupree? Where would you want to see her performing these days? Where do you want to see her go? Be sure to let me know in the comments. That's all I've got. I will see y'all later.